We're told all the time to pursue our dreams, take risks, and believe that things will work out. But what if they don't? What then? What happens if you give years of your life to something and it never becomes what you hoped it would be? Will all the time spent learning, practicing, and trying again mean nothing? I've been thinking lately about how scary it is to continue pursuing something when you don't know if it's going to work out. People tell me to keep going, that I have a lot of potential, and I want to believe them, but there's this feeling in me that wonders, what if they're wrong? What if I'm wrong? When I think about risks, I imagine doing something bold, something loud or ambitious, like starting a business, quitting your job, moving to a new city alone, or going all in on a dream. Those are the type of risks we usually talk about because they're easy to see, easy to point at, and when the risk works out, it becomes inspiring. It becomes a story that people can look up to and attach themselves to. We consume endless amounts of motivational and self-improvement content telling us that anything is possible, that the emotions and struggle we experience are part of the journey. But despite that being true, there's one thing that doesn't get talked about. Risk is only accepted if it works out, but when it doesn't or takes longer than expected, it feels less like courage and more like embarrassment. And I think that's the part that scares me the most. Putting in so much effort and time into something and having nothing to show for it. Because people can tell you to keep going, that you have a lot of potential, and that everything takes time. But at some point, I've wondered to myself, that may be true, but where is the proof? Where is the sign that this is heading anywhere? I've looked at my own progress and wondered what's the point of continuing. Asking myself, why don't I just hang it up and try again after I've established myself a bit more? Because the longer you go without proof, the heavier belief becomes. Most people don't lose themselves because they stop wanting the reward or believing in the end goal, but because it hurts too much to keep believing in something that hasn't given them anything back yet. And honestly, I don't really blame them. The world is driven by results. No one really credits or cares about the hours a person has put in. They only care about what those hours have become. We look at the end product and marvel at their quote-unquote talent or luck and wish it was us. Think about our artists. They spend a majority of their lives drawing, putting in hours of grueling practice to be able to develop taste and draw the things we see and marvel at. People usually don't say, I can tell you put in a lot of hours. Instead we say, wow, you're so talented. Dismissing the time and effort it must have taken to get that skill set, craft a piece of art, and the silent struggle to reach a point where people will even want to see it. Every time we see something on our page, hear a story about the risks working out, those are the end results. Something you can immediately see and react to. The business after it became successful, the artist after they found their style, the creator after the audience showed up. Something you can point to and say the risk is going to be worth it. But on realizing risk does not live in the result. It lives in the part where you are putting in effort but nothing has changed yet. It lives in the part where you have to keep choosing something before the world gives you a reason to keep choosing it. That is the actual risk, not the success stories we see, but the uncertainty before it. One of the hardest parts about living in that uncertainty is the embarrassment that comes along with it. For some reason, there's something embarrassing about trying, putting yourself out there when you don't have much to show for it yet. It's one thing to tell people you're chasing a dream after it works out, and another while you're still figuring it out. While the numbers are low, when you're not even sure if you're good enough yet. That version of risk feels different because you're not just risking failure, but being seen as one before the outcome makes you look brave. And that's why the idea of hanging it up seems so reasonable. It doesn't feel like quitting, but strategic. Like maybe I should wait until I have more experience, more credibility, become someone worth something. But those are reasons our brains come up with to discourage us from taking risks, from being in uncomfortable situations. And maybe that's what makes risk so uncomfortable. It asks you to keep showing up before you have the identity, proof, or results that will make showing up feel justified.
Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself. Like feel that feeling, the fear of cringe.
That's
And then
really
go
good.
out there and do it.
Dude,
Because everything you want is on the other side of that.
I've been thinking about this line a lot because embarrassment is one of those emotions people do not like admitting to. We'll admit that we're confused, tired, or anxious, but being embarrassed feels different. It feels smaller, more personal, and something that's difficult to admit or confront. And I think that's why I have so much control over people. Because throughout this phase of exploring my own interests, there have been many moments where I felt embarrassed. Not because I felt like I did things wrong or picked incorrectly, but because the things I'm doing have not yet become successful enough to make the effort look justified. And that's an uncomfortable place to be. You know how many times you have started over, doubted yourself, compared yourself, and tried to keep going anyway. But other people do not see all of that. They just see the current version of it, the unfinished project. And being seen while you're unfinished is embarrassing because there isn't an explanation for it yet. You can't concretely point to the outcome and say, this is why I was doing it. You can't use success as proof yet. You just have to stand there with the fact that you're trying and putting your best effort in. And for some reason, trying feels humiliating when it has not turned into anything visible yet. I think that's what makes embarrassment so powerful. It doesn't make you feel bad, it makes you want to hide instead. Why is it that so many people feel the need to block people who know them when making content? We could say it's for peace of mind or clarity, but I believe it's because of the embarrassment of being seen trying. Because when you detach yourself, the failure hurts a lot less. If you act casual or downplay how much it means to you, then people can't criticize you for taking it too seriously. And when you quit quietly, nobody will notice it was something that mattered to you. But that's where embarrassment becomes dangerous. It convinces you to wait and discourages you from even starting because nobody wants to live in the discomfort of being bad at something. The beginning stages are always awkward. Your ideas are not fully developed and your taste is higher than your abilities. You know what you want it to be, but it's not something you can do yet. And closing that gap feels embarrassing. It's such a frustrating feeling to have something in your head that feels clear, meaningful, or important. But when you try to bring it to life, it comes out looking like trash. But every version of growth has an awkward phase. There have been many times where I convinced myself something was not the right time, that I wasn't ready, that my skills aren't there yet, when really I was afraid of looking stupid in public. I worked in private and improved in private. Dozens of projects that never got released because I was embarrassed. But I'm realizing you can't expect to just show up and be perfectly formed. Because if embarrassment stays in control, you will always choose the safer alternative regardless of the risk you're taking. I spend a lot of time thinking about the future and hear all the time, what if it doesn't work out? What if you're wasting your time? What if you keep trying and nothing ever really happens from it? Sometimes I ask myself those questions as well, because I think those are fair questions to ask, because I don't think every risk pays off. I don't think every dream or goal becomes real just because you care about it enough. And effort alone does not guarantee the success you want to see. That's the unfortunate reality. Hard work does not always equal to success, but all successful people work hard. But I think that's also what makes it meaningful, because if success was guaranteed, there wouldn't really be a risk. The difficult part is continuing when there is no certainty, when there isn't any proof yet, when the only thing you have is the possibility that maybe, eventually, it could become something. So when people ask, what if it doesn't work out? There's always another question worth asking. What if it does? What if the thing that feels embarrassing right now becomes the thing you're grateful you kept doing? Because I used to think taking risks only meant choosing something uncertain, but I'm realizing that staying the same is also a risk. It just doesn't feel like one because staying the same feels comfortable. It doesn't force you to do anything different, but it also keeps you in the same place. And that's a reality that scares me more. Not the possibility of failing or looking stupid, but the possibility of staying in a life that I know I don't really want just because I was too embarrassed to try for something else. There's risk involved in everything we do, but maybe some risks are worth taking, not because they guarantee success, but because they give us a chance to become someone new.